Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Aisha Noor, or you can just call me Noor. So here I do makeup while telling you murder cases that keep me up all night. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, share, and click that bell icon down below. So today we are going to talk about Kenya's most infamous self-proclaimed serial killer, Philip Onyancha. So without any further ado, let's jump into the video. And as you can see, I already have my brows done before. So in November 2008, a woman by the name of Catherine Chelangat disappeared, and she was living in the suburbs of Nairobi, Karen, and her last family member to see her alive was a man by the name of Wesley Rotich, and he reported that that day Caroline was going to stay over at her brother's place, but unfortunately she did not make it to her brother's. So later they will tell police this. 3 months will pass by without them finding Chelangat, and her captors will contact her family and ask for a ransom of 30 Kenya shillings, but unfortunately they did not have this amount of money at hand, and they pleaded with the captor to, they didn't have this money. And so Wesley Rotich went to the police and reported this, and the captor, the figure on the other side of the line, had no mercy. But then they pleaded, and he was like, okay, I'm going to reduce the price for you, and he reduced the price to 15,000 Kenya shillings from 30,000 Kenya shillings. But unfortunately this did not result to the safe return of Catherine Chelangat back home. The young mother, she had one child, and she had just finished college. She was really getting her life started. So the young mother had already died months before even the captors getting the money, and they did not know this at the time. The man who killed her was a security guard who literally walked blocks away from where her family stayed. The man claimed that he held his hand, he gave his hand to Catherine, and she greeted him back, and with that, she just followed him. Later the killer will confess to police that he has a magic touch. He has this, let's call them supernatural powers, where he just gives you his hand and you're out of your senses and you follow him. So this is what happened to Catherine, and he led her to a secluded area where he went ahead and murdered her. So this man is going to be later known as Kenya's most infamous self-proclaimed serial killer. And the body of Catherine was not to be found for the next 2 years, which this period the killer continued killing, and his preferred victims were women and kids. He said that he was asked why women, and this guy, the audacity, he went ahead and said that they're weak and vulnerable to my attacks. And when the urge comes for him to commit the crimes, he said that women are the easiest. So that's what he claimed. So this is the story of the Philip Onyancha. Let's get to know him a little bit better, about his life. Philip Onyancha was born in western of Kenya in 1978. He was one of several children of Samuel and Esther Onyancha, and they owned a tea farm near Kericho, which they still tend to today. So they own that land to date. But honestly speaking, there's not much about his early life, just that Philip himself comes out and he claims that he had a very tough early life, that he also claims that he was molested by one of the workers at his family home, and this happened a handful of times, leaving him traumatized. And messing with his psyche, leaving him believing that the only way for him to get what he wants in life is by using a little force. Well, not a little, using force. Well, this later caused Philip to, watch a lot of pornography, which really messed up with his sexual identity. He really struggled with his sexual identity. And mind you, this was happening behind the scenes, because in school, he was actually a really good student. He performed well enough in his primary school. Even his headmaster wrote in his form that he is a well-behaved and an above average student. So he was not a fool. In school, he had good grades, and he performed well enough that he secured a position in administration at one of the top schools in Kenya called Kenyatta Mahiga. In his first year of school, him being in secondary school, it was easy peasy. Academics came easy to him. He was really enthusiastic about academics, and he did not only thrive at academics, he also thrived at extracurricular activities, and the teachers were fond of him. I mean, teachers like students who perform, and so yeah. But come his second year at Kenyatta Mahiga, Philip changed. He took a drastic turn, to the point that he was suspended for bullying. This boy let his age get into his head very fast. Like being I don't know if 15 or 14 is such a big deal. He let his age get into his head very fast, and he started bullying his juniors and his vulnerable classmates. Classmates, those classmates that are quiet, they're just in school for what they are there to do. So he started bullying them, and he was suspended for 2 weeks. But later we'd come to find out that Philip did not only get suspended for 2 weeks for bullying, he also was accused by a Form 1 student, a boy, for sodomy. But this accusation, they were half-heartedly investigated. But either way, he went home for just 2 weeks, and when he was back, boy was just a mere shadow of his former self. He was not present. He was a passenger in school. Instructors had to force him to pay attention in class. He stopped engaging in extracurricular. He became one of those students, and he was just there to I need to finish this school. And when he sat for his KCSE, he got a GPA of C-, but this boy, he did not even go back and get his result form. He just decided, what, I'll just go and repeat Form 4 in another school. Like Kenyatta Mahiga did not happen, and that's exactly what he did. And after that, he did not continue with his education, meaning he did not go to college or university. He joined the workforce. And one thing at Kenyatta Mahiga, there were rumors and whispers of devil worshipping. Those things. If you know, you know. If high school Kenya, even if you know. So yeah, it also happened. There were mashitani things. Yeah, that is going to come in later, so just keep that in mind. So he joined the workforce, and he became a security guard. He was living in Western Kenya, and he soon left Western Kenya, went back to Nyeri. Nyeri was where his high school was. And the reason as to why he went back, he was accused of attempting to rape a neighbor, but he denies this accusation. He says that the voices in his head told him to get away from western of Kenya and go to Nyeri. He had been having these voices in his head since high school. Okay, sawa. He was employed, he was a security guard employed by G4S, a global security firm, and this helped him move around. He worked for different companies and personal homes, and in 2008, in the mid 2000s, he met a lady by the name of Lydia Nyaboke, and they got married, and soon afterwards the two moved to Nairobi, where they lived, and in 2008 they welcomed their baby boy. Soon afterwards, Lydia began to grow suspicious of, the husband, because like he wasn't really home all the time. He used to wander around at odd hours, and he started hanging out with very suspicious and unknown acquaintances. So she even confronted him once, telling him that if there is another family that you have or a wife, just tell me, just let me be. And he vowed to her, there's no one else, I am committed to you, Lydia, and our son. And she stuck with him through this. Going to 2010, Mans was fired from G4S. Mans was fired, reason being he was very inconsistent with his attendance at work. I mean, if you don't show up to your work, you'll definitely be fired. So he was fired from his work of place. Now let's go back to June 2009. Around the same time Lydia started having suspicions, a young boy by the name of Samuel Wanyonyi, he disappeared. He was a very vibrant boy, and he was schooling at a very prestigious school, and he was living with his aunt, and he disappeared, and his family members received a call by his captors demanding money, 40,000 Kenya shillings, but they did not have this money, so they did not pay. And the captors were like, okay. They sent in another letter stating that, this time they sent a second letter with some belongings of Samuel and clothes. So they stated that they had reduced the amount from 40,000 Kenya shillings to 10,000 Kenya shillings, and that the money should be paid via M-Pesa money transfer. Desperate. Anyway, from 40 to 10,000 Kenya shillings. Anyway, the family still did not pay, and months after their son's disappearance, they just came to a conclusion that their son had died. All this while, a local man named Philip Onyancha was helping with the investigation and trying to find the boy who was lost, Samuel. He volunteered in looking for him. He even told the family that the handwriting of the captors looked like a female's handwriting. Yeah, because we females, we write in a specific kind of way. Anyway, this was to throw them off. And in 2010, in Thika, they were experiencing a significant uptick in violent deaths. To be specific, 8 sex workers, they were all found dead, and obviously this shook the city and kept the city on high alert. So in January of 2010, a sex worker by the name of Helen Nyambura was found dead at the Rambogo Bar and Restaurant. She had been there for several days, and police at first believed that she died of an epileptic shock, which will later be known to be otherwise. And it was also believed that the killer had visited her body a dozen of times, and it was also suspected that the killer was one among the crowd watchers. Then just about a week later, a similar murder happened at a different area but still in Thika, and this time the body was found naked and the neck was broken. With all the 8 murders, police struggled to find any leads, but what they managed to find is they managed to get a specific time and place where they could place the victims just before the horrific incidents happened to them. It remained unsolved. So in April of 2010, a 9-year-old boy by the name of Anthony Muriri, he also went missing, and this time his family also got a phone call from a letter, from the captors demanding a ransom. Does this sound familiar? Does this ring bells in your head? Because it is familiar. It is the work of the same kidnappers. No new tricks. So this time the family had the money, but they were, brilliant enough, because the money was going to be sent via M-Pesa money transfer. They did contact in police, and the police were tracking the money, and it was traced to a 32-year-old man by the name of Philip Onyancha. This was when he was arrested, and within a day of this man being arrested, he confessed to killing near 20 people, women and kids. But some speculate 17, some speculate 19, but the number is just between there, in just a day of him being arrested. All his victims were women or children, and like I said, it's because he felt that women and children are very vulnerable and easy to his attacks. He claimed that it was his high school teacher who recruited him to this murderous occult, and it was said that once he had killed 100 people, he will be blessed with an untold immense amount of money. But funny enough, he really never in his life met a single member of the cult, but he had two accomplices who helped him with the kidnappings, and those accomplices were arrested. The police was set to find the woman who recruited Philip Onyancha into this murderous cult, since he never met any members of the cult. And this news did shock a lot of people, but the person who was shocked the most had to be his wife. I was so shocked that, and mind you, she got informed about her husband's actions through the newspaper. She passed out, like she blacked out. I get it. She didn't know what her husband was up to. She thought, this is the man that I love, because at first she described Onyancha as a very caring, as a very loving husband, but then your caring and loving husband goes around killing women and children because they are weak, because he's in a murderous occult, looking. And did I mention he also drinks blood of his victims? He's a vampire, so obviously I'd be shocked too if I was married to a killer vampire. And so she also says that she grieves with the family of the victims. She is very sad by what happens, and she also moved from where she was staying with her son and went back to her rural home. Over the several days, word of Onyancha's actions did spread all across Kenya, shocking the country. People were shocked. People feared him. Everyone, I actually vividly remember that time. Everyone was like, Onyancha, Onyancha, Onyancha. So I remember. Publications do describe him to having fox-like eyes, and he is very cool, collected, a calm demeanor to him, and some people compare him like to Ted Bundy, his demeanor. And honestly speaking, I've watched interviews of this guy. He is actually very fluent spoken. His English is very fluent. He's eloquent. He's very calm. He's chill. So yeah, I get the aura around him, and he's also a well put guy. He is not a guy who will approach you and you just think murderer, killer, vampire. He's out to get my blood because I'm weak. No, actually, he's a very eloquent guy, so to say. And it was also noted that at the back of his head, he had an orange sized tumor, which will bring several theories about his mental illness, and this is going to play a big part in his trial, sorry, to come. Let me do my lashes and I'll be right back. I'm back with the lashes on. So Philip did lead investigators to a tour on the crime scenes where he committed his horrific murders, and this tour was not 100% successful. Reason being, you know, the mob was mad. People wanted to deal with him, and onlookers were also like furious, so they were not able to accomplish this 100%. But even with that, they did retrieve bodies where, you know, Philip had led them to. He told publications that he felt, you know, a powerful and unstoppable urge to kill, and he derived pleasure from strangling and drinking his victims' blood. This proves what I was saying earlier. He is a vampire. Anyway, this guy is funny. Do you know he told publications that the hardest part of his, you know, evil endeavors was the handshake? You know, he had the magic touch. He just, you know, give you his hand, and when you shake it, you'd blindly follow him. He told publication that was the hardest part. Once you shook his hand, you know, work done, easy peasy. The rest is just, you know, sailing through. Narcissist. So Elizabeth Wamboi, was the teacher who recruited Philip into the murderous cult. She was 40 years old when she was arrested, and she was charged with administering unlawful oath. But then Philip did come and say that the allegation he made towards the teacher was false, and she was acquitted. Why would you do that? Like, did she do it? Did she recruit you? Did she not recruit you? You know, pick a stand. Pick a stand. Also, Philip's mental state was a matter of subject in court, as prosecutors petitioned to try him for murder as, you know, a sane person, and this is going to later be a big factor in his trial. Way later, you are going to see. Later that year in 2010, Philip stood trial, but for an entirely different reason. In a Kibra court, he was accused of attempted rape and assault of a woman, and he was found guilty, and he was sent to jail for 12 years in prison, and he served his time at the Committee Maximum Security Prison. And during this time, as he was awaiting his, you know, trial, first of all, after he was convicted, he underwent surgery. You remember he had a tumor. It was removed, and after it was removed, he miraculously became a good person. He became a preacher in prison, and he was a bookkeeper to keep him busy. High Court Justice ordered a new trial for Philip, ruling that the previous hearing against him was a mistrial. He argued that he should have been tried under people suffering from mental illness. This is due to the tumor he had. So yeah, it was a mistrial. They had to start over. And recently, it was ruled that the police did not do a proper investigation. Which led to the court acquitting him of the murder of one victim called Jacqueline Chepngetich. So it is kind of like an open-ended situation up to now, but he was recently acquitted for, you know, one murder. And that is the story of Philip Onyancha. And this story really resonates with me because it's something that, it's not like something I read. I did research about it, and it's not something that I just researched about it. It's a story that I knew. It happened. It was in the news daily. I saw news and articles about his mistrials, and people were shook. Let me tell you, my mom she was afraid to even like go outside. She was like, I'm not leaving the house. Maybe Onyancha is somewhere, he's going to get. This is how this man shook people. So when I tell you I can relate to this story, like, trust me. And my mom had us all so afraid of even like going out. We couldn't go out past like 6. She was like, hey, you guys, you don't know that Onyancha like people out there, they're going to suck your blood. So Onyancha really had Kenyans on their toes for a hot minute there. Anyway, so that is the story of the self-proclaimed infamous Kenyan serial killer. And his demeanor was kind of like Ted Bundy's. He's cool, calm, collected, and he was a very charming man. Can I call him charming? I don't know. He was a very eloquent man, his vibe. So that was his story. Tell me down in the comments below your experiences and what you felt like if you went through that Onyancha period when he was being arrested and his story was everywhere. Anyway, so this is today's makeup look. It is simple. I wanted to keep it simple, like nude colors. I just wanted to keep it simple and stylish, black on black. So we didn't want anything too fancy for today. And yeah, do not forget to subscribe. Please comment, like, feel free to share with your friends, and click on that bell icon below. See you next time. My name is Aisha, or you can just call me Noor. See you. Bye.